Hello, good evening, everybody. Happy Election Day. Happy November 6th. I was about to say the 5th. I was about to say the 4th, I meant. Anywho, I just wanted to hop on live to talk to everybody. The election results seem to be in. It looks like all the polling locations have already reported that Omar Ochoa is a clear winner for the Edinburg Mayoral Campaign. He pretty much won by quite a bit. The person that came in second place was, of course, Richard Molina. He was the second richest candidate, second, of course, to Ochoa, who I'll be looking into exactly how much he spent throughout the race because I think, that'll be interesting. But I think, according to Richard Molina, just until recently, it, he Molina reported that Ochoa had spent up to $2 million, and probably he was not far behind him. But Ochoa is clearly the finance capital candidate, as I've talked about. He gets money from Goldman Sachs. That's part of his income. Between he and his spouse, what's her name, Miss Weiss. Her first name is blanking out on me. They've reported over 10,000 stocks and bonds jointly together, the majority of which are Leah Weiss. I just remembered, she holds the vast majority of them. So, he obviously was the big spender in the campaign. Everybody saw all of the signs and everything. So, and then third place was former council member Johnny Garcia. So Molina had about 2,600 votes or something like that. The last numbers for Garcia I saw, I believe, were 900. And for our campaign, it was 125. The interesting thing that stands out to me the most is that the amount of votes that each candidate got was in order in which they were, pretty much the most funded. As I reported a few weeks ago in the article, in which I, was pretty much the only person, either as a candidate or in the press, who reported on the fact that Mr. Ochoa and his spouse, Leah Weiss, reported over 10,000 stocks as part of their income. All of the properties that they had as like rental property together, as well as the income that Mr. Ochoa receives through dividends from Goldman Sachs. I also showed that Mayor Molina was basically the second richest candidate. So the way that it all came down is that it was all set on who had the most money. And Mr. Ochoa apparently had a lot of it. You could see it, as I just mentioned, in all the propaganda throughout the city, throughout the airwaves. I mean, even the press was like running ads for him. I think he was the only candidate who had ads in the mainstream press, Channel 5. And as I was just checking the votes right now on the Monitor's website, myrgv.com, there's an ad for Mr. Ochoa. Just an interesting side note. I talked to some people who, were involved in the campaign about this story, but I don't think I ever mentioned it in any of the newsletters. And that is that I saw a local paper, I believe it was called the Edinburg Review or something. I'd gone to City Hall for something, and there was a copy of it, and, there were 4 photos at the front. It was about the Edinburg race and stuff. They had something super generic about me. They obviously didn't even really, look me up or anything. Same thing for Mr. Garcia. They had a little bit more for former Mayor Molina, because he was a former mayor, right? But it described Mr. Ochoa as the front runner. And that kind of just clicked with me, because I think I actually was there to look. It might have been the time that I had gone to go look at the financial records. And so on this newspaper, it describes him as the front runner on the front page, but on the back page, it's a full page ad for his campaign with a photo of his team, that photo that they put on all the mailers and stuff. So anywho, yeah, I think that that's a very important, like, not really lesson, but I guess a fact of capitalist elections and how they work. We saw how the machinations came together. And again, it's just a perfect correlation between the amount of money that candidates spent and the amount of votes they got. You know, that's very interesting finding. You know, you could think of some national elections where maybe one candidate might have outspent another and lost, but in most of those cases, the victorious candidate who spent less already had a lot of name credibility, already comes from financial wealth most often, you know, and so on. But you know, that obviously does not hold for municipal elections where you have like working class people running for office. And so I guess it does hold true in the sense that, you know, for the Socialist Workers Party, when they run their candidates for national office, you know, it's pretty proportionate to the amount of money that the comrades are able to fundraise versus what the whole capitalist machine has to throw at it. But again, the main point for people like us, people who are class conscious, people who want to build an authentic socialist movement and an authentic socialist revolution, and to be part of that, I'm just gonna turn my battery down. Is to spread this consciousness, and we certainly have accomplished that. Um, all of the working class people who came across us throughout the campaign, and also something else to keep in mind is that we were the only campaign that reached out to immigrants. Not just reached out to them. We straight out said that the question of amnesty is a crucial question. It's a central question for the working class. I know that I had several co-workers, friends, comrades who are immigrants. They live in Edinburgh. They've been living in Edinburgh for a long time, but could not vote, as well as co-workers and comrades who are on felony probation. And that's something that I talked about during the campaign, the importance of re-enfranchising people who've lost the right to vote. On the example of the folks in Florida who you know were able to re-enfranchise millions of felons who previously couldn't vote because of prior criminal convictions. So in any case, yeah, that's something else to keep in mind. But the real steps begin now. The next steps forward really begin now, and that is to continue on building this momentum that we sparked. This movement of working people seeing that working class people can be the ruling class in society, that working class people can run for office, we can run on our own banners and on our own slogans, an independent class activity, class struggle. And so, yeah, I would just like to thank everybody who believed in this campaign, who supported it, who offered their services, who offered their skills, their talents, everything. You know, this was a real learning experience. And I think what we can glean from this is that, again, you know, the way that capitalist elections are going to run, you know, these are the kinds of outcomes we're typically going to see unless we're in a period of intensified class combat. And things just haven't quite gotten there yet. But again, for us, we know that this capitalist state can't ever work in the interests of the working class people like us. And so the reason why we run in these elections is to spread our message of that the working class needs to form our own centers of power, to form the equivalent of Soviets as in old Tsarist Russia in the lead up to 1917, to form new centers of power through our trade unions, because that's where the real center of power lies. That's where real politics is. It's at the workplace. It's in the everyday class struggle between employers and the bosses. We know that, we're not going to use parliamentarism to bring about socialism, like Zoran Mamdani and other kinds of people of that ilk. We run in capitalist elections to expose the system, to show how it can never operate and function in the interests of the working class. And I think that we thoroughly demonstrated all of those things. We achieved our objectives, and we're going to build and continue learning from this experience. Please join me and us in continuing to form a working class movement in the Rio Grande Valley, to form a working class political party, to run similar campaigns like this one all across the valley. This is just the beginning. This is just the start. In future elections, there's going to be candidates on there that will be working class candidates that people will have the option to choose for. And we're going to be continuing to raise this kind of consciousness. Again, not under the illusion that the capitalist state, through parliamentarism, will improve our conditions, but in order to strengthen our numbers, our resilience, and our ability to believe in each other. We, not me. Thank you.